This one was included in your notes from last week. Otherwise, I got out of bed on two strong legs. It might have been otherwise. I ate cereal, sweet milk, ripe, flawless peach. It might have been otherwise. I took the dog a pill to the birchwood. All morning, I did the work I love. At noon, I lay down with my mate. It might have been otherwise. We ate dinner together at a table with silver candlesticks. It might have been otherwise. I slept in a bed in a room with paintings on the walls and planned another day just like this day. But one day, I know it will be otherwise. And so with that is, I think the intention is present. We could just place down our things. We'll chant gratitude in the meditation itself. And finding a settled, comfortable posture, one that feels supported. Remembering the pure aspiration that this practice contribute to the good. And that it do so for all beings everywhere without exception, including you. We can begin by being grateful for the sound of the bell and the hearing. Thank you. We can be grateful for the silence from which all sounds, all life, all things come and go. Thank you. We can be grateful for this breath filling our lungs, giving us life, this precious life, and this precious moment. Thank you. We can be grateful for this mind, this alivened, awakened mind. A mind that can know the breath, know the body, and be present to this life, this moment, this very awakening now. And now. Thank you. we begin to incline the mind towards the body, we can be grateful for the whole of this body. Exactly as it is right now. Parts we like and the parts we don't like. We can be grateful the same. Thank you. And just feeling the breath as it moves in and out of the whole of the body. This whole body being breath. Nothing more to get, nothing more needed. This present moment, perfect. Thank you. As we open to the knowing, to the experiencing of the aliveness of this whole body, we can feel the breath rising somewhere in the chest, the belly, wherever. Let the attention for a few moments settle there. Wherever the breath is most alive. And be grateful. Thank you. Can we awaken with each breath? As we do not recognize the aliveness, the preciousness, the wonder of the breath, we fall asleep into ingratitude. Or we can let the breath wake us up. Present. Thank you. Grateful for the in-breath, rising us up. Filling us, nourishing us, opening, expanding us. followed perfectly by the out breath. Feeling the softening, release, settling into the earth. The release for just one breath. Thank you. Grateful for this life, grateful for this breath, grateful for this body. Grateful for these feet, these legs, these hips. Thank you. Feeling into them, getting up close, comfortable, familiar, remembering the infinite benefits and the blessings of these feet, these legs, these hips, however they are, this moment. Thank you. Feeling the uprightness of the spine, the way the head perfectly balances off that pinpoint, rising up towards the sky. Grateful. Thank you. And then we let the blessings fall down from the heavens, right onto the top of the head, touching the head and the face, shoulders and the arms, being enlivened, inspired by gratitude. Thank you. And then we have the perfect face, perfect, small, serene smile, acknowledging the truth, the gift of this life. And we let the beauty of who we are radiate right through those eyes, right through that mouth. And are grateful. Thank you. And we touch the soft animal skin, the chest and the breasts, the belly. And we let it be soft, undefended. We feel the sense of gratitude well up in our being with each breath. And in our gratitude, we whisper, thank you. We feel into that beating heart, these inflating lungs. Miracle of the organs, systems, we can feel it's working. We can feel when it's not. Thank you. We can then open beyond the body to include the sense doors, beginning by opening to sounds. Can we open to the gratitude for all sounds? The sounds of the symphony and the sounds of the cars passing, all perfectly flowing sounds of silence. Can we be grateful for this privilege of hearing? privilege for the speaking of gratitude. Thank you. Privilege for the feeling of gratitude, a very physical, felt sense of gratitude that's lived and known in the body. For all feelings, for all knowing. Thank you. For all the smells and all the tastes, and all the delicious foods offered to us. In communion and community and celebration. Thank you. And not only for our precious life, but the precious life of all things. Those we love, those we know, those we don't know, those we don't love. Can we be grateful for them all? Thank you. For all the beings and all the plants, the animals, insects, birds, the fish, rocks, the ground, the sky, water, the air, and the fire. And we breathe it in. And then breathe out gratitude. And as we remember that everything in life that's been offered to us is a gift. And in every moment in which we feel, sense, see, know anything, we can be grateful. Thank you. resting in the stillness and the silence. Each object in its arising, it's changing, it's fading, and it's passing. Thank you. And then the whole of this life, and each moment in it. Beautiful at the beginning, beautiful in the middle, beautiful at the end. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, like we said, no practice repeats each song, just like each moment. And so, for those of you who did the practice on Saturday, I'm curious, what was the same or different about this one? Practicing with gratitude. And there really is no moment, is there? Really, where gratitude is not possible. And so you were asked this week to see if you couldn't turn towards life, really, in whatever shape, form, way, moment you did, and to soak it in. Remember that soaking in idea? Rick Hansen saying that it takes 10 to 20 seconds to really fully open oneself, I have to say, to the possibility of whatever is present and to really place attention on purpose in the present moment for some amount of time and just breathe it in, take it in, smell it in, hear it in, see it in, feel it in. And did anybody try that and see what you noticed when you did that?
I had been practicing over the weekend to kind of take a few moments just to seal things into my head. Like something nice that happened. I tried to do that. But this morning, when I tried to get here, I'm like, on the way over, I went, wow, that's how I had been living. Just with everything and I felt like, as I was driving, I'm like, wow, no wonder I get anxious. Right. And I just breathed into it. Just live in the back.
Yeah.
Like, this is no big deal. I can get there when I get there.
Right. Good. Could recognize with gratitude the habit nature, right? The speeded up, a little frenetic, or it's a lot, and can feel grateful for the knowing. And then grateful for the choice, whatever comes with it. Sometimes you stay speeded and because that's the right thing, and sometimes you don't. Right? Grateful for the ability to speed up, I have to say. With a father-in-law now who has one speed. And my guess is he would be pretty grateful for the possibility of going at another speed at this point. Right? So grateful for the knowing, grateful for the abilities, grateful for the choice making in it all. What else did you notice?
I noticed that, talk about negativity bias. I decided on Sunday that I would take time to meditate. And I noticed how it's very easy to go to the big negative story. I decided to go looking for the really positive. And I had no idea how many funny, great examples of people doing kind acts that are in there. They're just all on the back page. It's like all in the corner. And I just sat there and sipped coffee and soaked in, some of those examples of goodness. It was like reading the paper inside out. And really different experience. And on the one hand, you could feel like you were wasting time. I wasn't paying attention. And then I had to really go, no, this is really good. And to just sit and kind of look at, there's the section of the paper where they have the cartoon, where you're supposed to come up with a funny thing, it's like a funny title for a cartoon, and there's 6 different answers, and then there's the winner, and each one is funny. Each one is clever. And I just sat there and read it off like that. Never. I really, it was coming up for me. I have to find these things. They're there.
So the newspaper, evidently, I hadn't thought about it this way, is a perfect reflection of our habit-natured mind. I hadn't actually ever quite thought about it like that. So thank you. I mean, like really, right? The biggest, baddest news. Zzzt, right there on the front in like, type like this, the darkest. And, the good news, like you have to pay attention. You have to incline towards. You have to look for exactly like the truth of this life. not because it's not here in as large a print or as bold. It's not true, but because this negativity biased mind, it is true, isn't it? It looks for the tiger first and sees the tiger then, even when there isn't one. This is our habit natured mind. And can we be grateful for that? Yes. Grateful for it all. Yeah, that's beautiful. Did anybody try soaking in a moment of reactivity, in a moment where it feels like the truth is that there is no good news, that it can't be okay, that this just equals, terrible, unpleasant, and worse. Anybody try it? I did that a lot, actually. I had plenty of opportunities. Grateful for, and I want to see if anybody else noticed what happened when you did that.
Yeah, it wasn't a specific event or even a specific thought. It was just this general feeling of agitation. It went on for a couple of days and was like, what's that about? And I couldn't, pick one thing, oh, this isn't going right, or I want to do this. It didn't seem like there was anything of that.
Right.
But again, I as I looked and didn't see anything, it was like, that's fine too. I don't have to, because again, as soon as I've identified one thing, then I've missed the next, 100,000 that contributing. But just the act of, doing the inquiry and saying, well, that's what it is. But it does change it too, because instead of just letting it kind of drag you around, you can say, well, that's what it is. And
Annoyed mind, irritated mind.
I wasn't the only one who noticed it.
You were not the only one. No, you were not. And this is an important part of the teaching, isn't it? Which is there is no thing that is the cause of that mind. Is there? No. The cause is never the thing out there. Anyway, we just imbue a sign, right? Don't we? We go, that, if it weren't for that, then I'd be okay. And Mike's saying something important, which is he was recognizing, well, there is no thing that is its cause. There is this arising quality of mind in me. And then can we, with interest, curiosity, and friendliness, right? This becomes a key. Deep friendliness. Inquire. What is this?
Sometimes there is a thing that is a cause, but still you can tell yourself, well, yeah, I'm reacting this heavy
Yes.
to this thing, but
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
But when you say this and you look at it, then you can think maybe I don't have to, or I don't have to go too deep with that. Solve it.
Yes. Really interestingly, Victor, from the point of view of these practices, there is nothing in the world itself that is the cause of our distress, beyond our mind, beyond our habit, beyond our delusion, it would say, for not seeing clearly. It doesn't mean we like the thing. And we couldn't even honestly say that the thing is because in any response to anything, right, we could choose responding, we could choose presence, we could choose being with, and from there, what we now know, I know this for myself, transform it, and me, transformed by it, and transforming it by the very responding. Don't we know this all? Right? The thing, the anger in another, the distressing statement, the rage, anger, aggression, greed, hatred, right? These things, we would not call them inherently good, but really, what are they? Pain in its expression.
Fear.
And the option is what? To respond. Then respond. And in so doing, change everything. Really. So the thing that right? Then you have to condemn all pain, all suffering, all fear in a way that could not allow us to get closer to it. Right? This is our work. This is why we're practicing gratitude. So that rather than the contraction, rather than the shutdown, the closing off, we open and move closer and say, let me see with gratitude in this moment of awakening how I can be present and respond. And then it can't go bad. I don't know what happens after that. But what I know is that there's been a contribution and it matters. So every moment where I remember a moment where for whatever, reason I could not add to the suffering is good, isn't it? Just that. I didn't know what to say. I didn't have the right thing. It wasn't going to be profound or eloquent or anything. I could just not contribute more pain. And I could be grateful for that. Couldn't we?
Well, and it's interesting because this agitation that I was feeling, I mean, it wasn't even directed at any person, but by me recognizing it and then having the conversation with Robin saying, yeah, I know, I just felt really agitated. I had no idea. And it totally changed the way that I was relating to Robin, even though it was definitely coming from her, this positive, I see it, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she didn't say quit doing it.
No. She did.
Diane, I've had this really interesting week where I was really focusing on the tough parts, where I consider myself, I can find joy region where, and then those tough moments come up. And then that internal judgment and that deep, what I call like that tentacle attachment to whatever is outside of me, whether it's a person, a place, a thing. And I had a moment where I had a situation come up where, of course, I put the tentacles on it, right? It's never about the other person. And I had a moment to feel that come up in my body, and then to be able to have a communication where I approached it in a sense that I'm going to stay in my contentness. I'm not going to go to one degree of that sympathy and over compassion, and I'm not going to go to the place of the frustration with it. And so I did this really interesting experiment with myself to see what that felt like, and it was uncomfortable. However, it was really profound for me to sit with that and ask this person just a question, and then to just sit with that. I was like purposely not looking for a response from myself. That was uncomfortable. Yeah. However, it allowed me just that space for that person to say or do and let the silent gaps be there. And really try to hone in on my energy so that I was not delivering something in an extreme to that person. Right. And then to be able to feel that I can remove that attachment by just sitting in that comfortableness of not having to go to an extreme behavior to kind of fix or do or make or, and then I was able to let it be and then go, that was really nice. To be able to take that moment, walking into it with that open-eyed experimentation of myself, sit with that uncomfortable feeling, and know that I was able to.
You're capable.
To detach that.
Yeah, you're capable.
It was, really
a presence. Really, and then what comes, you can recognize a little better, and then decide, be discerning. Like, I'm not going to fix it. I'm not going to jump into what. Right? I'm just going to be here and.
It allowed me to have compassion too, in the sense that if I can sit here, I can then clearly say, not my path, not my knowing, don't know what that's about. That's in their best interest. I'm going to hold space for that. And that was helpful for me too.
Yes. Yeah. Holding space is quite the gift, and for which we can be dramatically grateful. Aren't we? When others offer that to us as well. We offer to ourselves, right? We can be grateful. When others offer it to us, can't we be grateful? Like you didn't even think I was broken. You didn't even feel like you had to step in there and, right? You could just allow, right?
We're not beating ourselves up hard, because I'll do that too. I should have said something nicer. I should have been more compassionate. I should have la 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 the shouldas. And I just really allowed that to release pretty quickly. That was uncomfortable too.
Yeah, we're pretty familiar with judgments. Anybody notice? You know, if you can feel a moment of gratitude, the science says you cannot feel resentment and gratitude. You cannot feel reactivity and gratitude. That you cannot feel the habit nature taking over and gratitude. The gratitude is really fairly remarkable. And it's once we open the window on gratitude, we open the heart, right? You can't just quite as easily back into reactivity. Because once we are open to ourselves, open to the other, this is the ground of gratitude. You have to open to ultimately feel gratitude. And you cannot be reactive and hold gratitude in the same mind. Now, can we toggle? Who knows about toggling? I know a lot about toggling. Like, yes, yeah, the sky, right? That beautiful husband.
Gratitude helps to break.
Yes, it does. It does. And gratitude grows itself like reactivity. And so we stay in the struggle for a moment. It's okay to stay and go, wait a minute. Grateful for this, present to this. Because remember, we said last week, without presence, without mindfulness, gratitude cannot arise. There can be no gratitude without knowing something. That knowing is required. And then we train, as we're saying, don't we? We train and cultivate. Can I open into gratitude? And we can do that on purpose, which is what soaking in the good was, right? Opening on purpose. What's here now that I can open into and be grateful for that will naturally dissolve the boundaries, the barrier, the wall, the skin of reactivity. It begins to just, it's like a solvent that just begins to untangle it for us again and again, which is why we're going to keep practicing with it on the way to awakening joy.
It's interesting when you we're talking about how you can't hold gratitude and
Reactivity. Fear.
I hadn't thought about this for a really long time, but you also can't balance, like stand on one foot or whatever with other thoughts in your mind.
Right.
And although that might only last for 10 seconds, sometimes that's also enough to go, oh man, what was I thinking?
Caught.
Yeah,
Hooked.
caught.
Grateful for the knowing. Grateful for the knowing. So soaking in the good, an important practice, one I would encourage you to continue. And then the other practice we talked about was this, I have to. Anybody can remember we were going to work with language. This idea of I have to, and that we were going to, on purpose, with intention, try to change that to I want to, I choose to, I get to, right? I am privileged to, I am blessed, right? And these are versions or gradients, aren't they, of the same choice-making capacity. Did anybody catch themselves or notice or try to insert this thinking, speaking in their day?
Yeah, recently I've been doing a body scan when I first lay down in bed to go to sleep, and it's turned into kind of a cool thing that I didn't. At first I thought it was just like acknowledging the parts of your body. Now I realize when I put my attention on those spots, I can feel them, and I can move to different parts of the body, and the feelings of the foot go away, and I can feel the ankle, and then I can, and it's almost tingly. I mean, it's a complete sensation. And so the other night I was getting ready and I went, oh God, I got to do my body scan. And then I just went, what do I mean I've got to? This is a cool thing. I get to do this. And it didn't change what I was going to do, but it certainly was a appreciative way to have change.
Yes. We greet the moment differently when we remember, when we begin with the fact that it is a privilege, whatever it is. Whatever it is. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the little story by Thich Nhat Hanh, who, by the way, is still alive, that he used to get dish cleaning as a part of his task in the monastery. I think he was actually quite young, and that may be how he got the task. He was quite young, and he was so irritated by the dish doing, and aggravated, and his hands got wet, and he didn't like it, and it was cold, and he didn't like it. His teacher said, well, there's two ways to do the dishes. You could do the dishes being aggravated and irritated, or you could do the dishes in joy for the water, in joy for the food that was on them, in joy for the dishes that you get to eat them with. And he said he was transformed because that had never occurred to him. And ever since, he's volunteered to do the dishes because the privilege then of doing it. He woke up to the privilege. And actually, in retreats at Deer Park, he would go in to do the dishes because it was a continual awakening to this privilege, not only of the dishes, right, but the privilege of us being alive to do them. And isn't it true? So in any tasking, couldn't we wake up there? The privilege of getting to drive the kids, the privilege of cleaning a house with a real floor, the privilege, right, is really right there. Tending the garden of your life, whatever it is. And can we wake up and then apply language that this too is a blessing? And without the intentioning it, which is what I want to talk about the rest of the time, if we are not going to be willing to apply these teachings to real practices, to real ways of being, however good an idea they are, they will fall away, right, into the good idea pile, of which you have had billions. And so I want to talk for the rest of the time about what gets in the way of actually committing, intentioning, and then doing these practices. Because I'm already getting the feedback, which is, it's hard to remember, hard to make time, hard to get to it. But it can't be, actually, because there you are in your life. Right? So what do you suppose gets in the way? Really, we have to name them, because if we don't see them, they're going to keep getting in our way. What do you suppose gets in the way? Sounds good as we're saying it.
Time management.
Time management.
Which is yourself
Uh-huh.
doing it.
But I think you said it was the person who said the remember. It's like, how do I? Don't know how. That's how do I?
Yes.
And I've set alarms on.
Yes. Alarms, real cues, we might say. The reality of cues, not just waiting for life to knock you in the head, but actually setting the intention for a cue, an alarm, a sticky, an object that, right, you carry or hold or place in a way that goes, whenever I get to that, at the minimum, I can wake up
there. I can remember, mind, recollect, right? Re-intention there. Who understands that they will probably need those? Me.
Well, you walk around with the most amazing, cue,
Yes.
just your body. And every time a negative thought comes up, I mean, you're going to feel it here. There's just no way to do it unless you've really been drinking a lot.
Then you don't feel anything.
You go the next day. But this is the cue. I mean, as soon as that's the bell. Oh, wow. Okay. What's up?
Yes. You have to actually be embodied and in the body to know the body.
Yeah, but the body is poking you pretty hard.
Guess where we are. Oh, this is handy.
How can you ignore that one?
It's amazing. How can we ignore it? Because the thing out there looks like the tiger. That's how. So now you don't feel anything for a click. You don't remember anything. You don't know anything because everything's going like tiger right there. And really, if you've ever seen a tiger, I happened to confront a large bear in Alaska with her cub. Oh, yes. And I can tell you, I don't know what was going on right here. I have no clue. I was a lot out there going, okay, this is not that great because we got the situation we've got. And it's the habit mind that goes that away. It's the awakened mind that comes home. How do we keep inviting it? Because it is every breath moment speaking to us. It's true, but we don't catch them all. In fact, sometimes you don't know you have feet for the whole day, right? You don't know you've got hands for an entire day. You didn't, they're constantly signaling, aren't they? In a way that how do we wake up? So what do we have to do in addition? Because Mike's saying, well, the body's right here. And I can tell you boldly, I know the body is not enough. And it is right here and it is every moment. And so what else do we have to do?
I have to practice. I have more practice. I have to sit more.
Bottom line, keep turning towards it, turning towards it, turning towards it. Forget, turning towards it, turning towards it. The practice itself.
And that's all it is. Turn towards it. There's absolutely nothing to do after that. Just turn towards it. And, and then you've changed.
You are changed by the awakening.
Like constantly coming back to the breath.
Yep.
Anything comes up in life.
That's why we practice, so that we can get back here as the beginning, as the critical source for everything else we might ever do, ever. Get back here. Get into the body, into the right being here, and then awaken. And we need one more thing. What do we need in order to turn towards and turn towards and turn towards? Intention. So we're going to re-intention today. We have to. Why? How often are we re-intentioning? Every breath. Literally. It's not, I'm not joking. Every single breath. I've been doing this a long time. I have to re-intention every single time to wake up, because the habit mind is still has its potency, it has its energy, it has its power. So I have to, right? And what did we say at the very beginning? Where do we begin intentioning? Where's the beginning? The first thought, the first awakening, the first thing in the morning. And I already know half of you or more are not doing it. I already know. And it's okay, because we're going to start again. We're going to do it again. Right away. Joy, gratitude, right? Happiness. 3 words. You place them, you breathe them in. If half of you aren't doing it, as I know you're not, guess what I also know? The rest of the day goes to hell. Doesn't it? It goes to hell. And it is intentioned that way now. You have now intentioned it. So I've already heard, 3 words really. What do 3 words really do? Well, 3 words set the mind on the course. And then it becomes easier, says the neuroscience, to find the way back to it throughout the whole of the day. And then we practice Wait a minute, off back, off back. Grateful for the off, grateful for the back. This is all good news, right? So we re-intention those 3 words, and then we remember what our practice is going to be that day, all day. The parts that we're going to do all day. I'm going to soak in the good today. I'm going to stop at least 6 times and actually, right, for 10 to 20 seconds, just breathe life in and see how it is. I'm going to try to capture moments. Those are quite tough, I have to say, of have to, got to. I did not catch them in the languaging. I caught them in the body. And I don't want to.
What else are you gonna do?
Right, I don't really. And then I could wake up. Wait a minute, what do you mean that you don't want to? You love that yard. What do you mean you don't want to go out and pull the old stuff so you can get, right? What's that? What's that about? I could wake up even right there. And I did not catch it in language. I'm very auditory. I was guessing I would, and I didn't. But guess what else I did? I caught everybody else's by language. I caught every other have to that anybody in my house said, auditory, like bing, you know, right? And what could I do? I could apply that to the truth of my own have to, right? Rather than correct theirs, by the way, which is not particularly skillful, so don't try this at home. Don't do it. Don't do it. Though it will feel compelling. If I could fix their have to, then I don't have to work on mine. Wrong. You can catch theirs and say, right, what do I know about that? What do I know about the have to? Right. And this is the way we keep waking up. And without that, without it, we're lost. If we cannot intention, it's where we began, we are lost. And so what do you need to do then is the question to remember. What do you need to do to remember? Beginning with those first breaths. Because you will enjoy this course, you will. And it will not be the benefit I want it to be for you. It will not be. If we do not actually practice the things we're talking about. Which is why all the good ideas in all the world are not enough. Are they? They are not. All the possibilities are right there. They're right there. But the remembering, Cindy said, has got to be where we begin. And that begins with intention.
This, this idea of language, helping theoretically to direct us in certain pathways. I've always thought the term practice, wasn't strong enough. I mean, for me, it's not practice; it's just doing. And the more that you do it, for me, it was practice. Like, I'm going to do this so I get better at it. Well, you're doing it every day, every moment that you wake up. Right. And so it's not practice; it's just doing it. And the more that you do it, because if you, for me, if I just said, okay, I'm going to practice this, and then not going to practice it, it's like it just blows. And again, it doesn't really matter what you call it. My idea of practice was just doing it, and it didn't have to be it could be in a formal situation, it could be an informal situation, and really random. It's not practice, it's doing. And that and for me, the neural pathway, that's a much stronger intention to do it, as opposed to I'm just practicing because
Yes.
I'm not good enough yet, so I'm just practicing until I can get to the point where I'm good enough.
Yes. Oh, practice implying not good or not sufficient.
There's work to be done, which is always true. It's not that you're not good enough. It's just that there's skills involved. And,
yes.
Part of it is just me. Language is always a trick.
Yeah, it's this in language. So we could say just be it.
It's too random.
Exactly. That's how we got to practice. Just be it.
How about just wake up in every moment,
Yeah.
and then the next moment, give another shot.
Yeah. That's why we call practice. Because we know inherently that the habit nature also has its validity. There's a certain reality in it. But if you want to use the word being it, I love that, because that's ultimately waking up. And that counts. So I want to review something for the last couple moments. So this week we have a task. You will have to intention this task. I want you to set the 3 words again at the beginning. I want you to remember the practices. One of them is going to include listening to this gratitude meditation, the audio gratitude meditation that we did on Saturday, or some other, for at least 10 minutes a day. It's going to help you, Lisa said. Practice itself will help the remembering, right? 10 minutes a day, at least 3 or 4 times this week. 10 minutes, this gratitude, the audio gratitude, so that you can remember what it is we are intentioning, the awakening to gratitude, right? Then I want you to set a sentence, a line, a thought, a being, a doing for finding, seeing, knowing gratitude. You're going to have to use that word. It's going to be required. Gratitude is going to have to come up for you somewhere in this day, isn't it? To begin to incline the mind towards it, says the neuroscience. If you don't start with that, you can't find it. You will not be able to find it. So we incline the mind, we use language as a signpost, as a shorthand for what we're looking for, that we're going to be scanning our day for, and that's going to be gratitude in there somewhere.
Can you
Yes.
tell me the 3 words?
The 3 words are yours,
Okay.
but the words we're practicing with, one of them will be gratitude.
Okay.
One of them is joy, right? Because that's the awakening. Joy is the whole large intention for this whole course. And then the other one is you, whatever feels like what's true for you today. Now, it might be patience. It might be non-judgment, because we're talking about the hindrance of what? Recognizing we can't always do it, we can't always be it, we aren't always it, and then what? All the energy that shuts us down. It just shuts us down, doesn't it? It goes like, I'm not going back there because I couldn't feel it right then, so never mind. I'm hopeless, broken, deficient, or, right? This is what we're actually doing, by the way. We are actually already deciding we are not somehow capable. That's what's happened. We've already fallen back into the delusion that somehow you are not capable of this. And you're wrong, because you are capable of this.
When you are in the practice, because I have to watch myself on that one, when you say the words, it's more the feeling of the word than
Yes.
necessarily saying the word.
That's right. The word is only the signpost. It is not the experience. It is only to help you remember what it is you're going to be turning towards. Right? That is its value. And so there's an old saying, pointing at the moon is not the moon. It's just the pointing for the remembering, the seeing, the inclining one's mind and attention towards. But our primary hindrance is already that you have already decided. You have already fallen back into the old core belief thought that somehow I don't have what it takes for this.
That's only if you haven't paid attention. I mean, the falling back without being present to it, it's not there. It's only the catching of it.
Yep.
Now that doesn't mean that it didn't create a ton of suffering as you weren't paying attention, but the reality is that
Consistently
it's
guaranteed.
Not, it's the noticing. That's the whole deal.
Yes. I'm not noticing that we're noticing. I'm not noticing, as I'm hearing people, that you're noticing that this is just a fall into an old. I hear people going, maybe I'm just the one that doesn't own it. Maybe joy is just not like going to be my thing. Maybe I don't have it. Right? And now I've heard it enough. To go, uh-oh. Collective insanity. Uh-oh. Collective insanity. Right? Maybe I'm just not a grateful person. It's not true. It's not true. So we're going to re-intention. We're going to start right at the beginning with our 3 words. And then what we're going to be pointing at, looking for that day, which is the practice. I'm going to be looking for moments of gratitude, noticing moments of ingratitude, right? Because they're just as useful, and seeing if I can wake up.
You already have. Once you've noticed it, you've woken up.
Yes, if you've noticed it, you have. And
It's a wonderful thing too, that we never give ourselves credit for that moment of waking
we
up,
don't.
Catching a negative thought. It's because it doesn't have that nice,
Yes.
joyful feel to it.
We're not catching them right now. So we're going to wake up to that. The one that goes, I can't, it's not going to matter. Really, this other thing is bigger. The tiger's here. How am I going to feel gratitude now? Also, this is the other reality. I provided a ton of practices for you to pick from, and everybody went, well, I can't do all of those, so never mind. That's the second thing that happened. Was I have support practices there, and people went, I can't do all that. Well, you weren't supposed to. That wasn't the intention. But because you saw the possibility and you didn't take that, a lot of people then went into if I can't run a mile, don't bother. Right? We do this. People in rehab do this, don't they? They go, if I can't go 10 steps, I'm just not going. Because what's the point? Well, the 1 is the point. And it counts, and it matters, and it builds to the 3, which builds to the 7, which builds to the 10, which builds to the mile, which builds to the marathon.
Which returns back to 1.
Yep, which is called the practice. That's why we call it the practice.
That's the problem. You get out here a mile, and it's like, what happened?
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened in the course. Everybody went, oh my God, this is like a joy marathon. I can't do a whole marathon. And you quit, and you quit, and then you quit. And that's a habit. It's a habit. So we're going to climb back in, starting with those 3 words, inclining and tensioning towards gratitude, because that's where we are now, the seeing of it. And then we're going to see how we can invite what happens. How do we do that? And then you have, besides the formal practice, 3 to 4 times a day for at least 3 to 4 times this week for at least 10 minutes, you're going to write a letter of gratitude. A letter of gratitude to you, to yourself. The letter goes to you. All the things you are grateful for, all the things you bring to the table, all the awakening, all the possibility, all the contribution to you. Seligman writes it to another. We can't even go there yet. We're going to stay right here. We're going to write that letter to ourselves.
And the letter to the other is always by
Yes.
yourself anyway.
Yes. So you can start this letter, dear self. Okay. Dear me. Okay. Dear self, dear me. You need to bring the letter next week, because we're going to exchange it with the other me's. We're going to exchange it with the other selves.
You don't have to sign it though, right?
Nope.
First thing I thought.
Because this me and that
Yeah,
me,
we know.
what do we know? It's the
Not
same
my
me. It's the same me. It's the same self. It is. It is.
I just wanted to share something because I don't like to share about myself, truth, the deep stuff. I'm very sensitive to energy and feelings. I pay attention all the time. But what I pay attention to is drama and what I think is important. and what I can serve and do for other people, I don't ever incline it towards the gratitude and the joy that's in the world.
That's right.
It's a huge shift. It's a huge thing.
Yes.
I think that that's weird. I think that that doesn't fit in with the world and everything.
Yes.
Think like that, to be that joyful. I know deeply, I know I can.
Right.
I know I can. And it, wow.
Yeah. And then we just do it as we're all saying, we forgive ourselves. We open to the moment that is here because it is as important. And right, we already know the mind doesn't think so. We already know survival mind has already gone, who's got time for that? It's true, isn't it? And the truth is, without it, we can't be our greatest contribution. We can't attend to the whole of the world and all the things in it without the succor, without the nourishment, without the energy, without the joy of being in this life.
I think it's too weird.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yes.
It's too weird.
We have a lot, well, think about where we've all come from. We have an essential Judeo-Christian myth, right? That says, just so you remember, you started in the hole. You started with sin.
Keep digging.
You're not getting out of that. And we have a culture,
Well, you can dig either way.
don't we? We have a collective culture, and then a family, and then ourselves that all buy in to really there's no hope for this because there's really no hope for me, and there's no hope for this life, and there's no hope for this world. And then, of course, we fall in and do none of the things that we are capable of doing, don't we? Because, well, to feed one person isn't feeding the world, but it is. And we're going to begin with you, because that one person has to first be you. If it isn't, who's got the energy to do the rest?
Something I was going to ask earlier, but I held it, but it's relevant to both the newspaper and the thought. But there are some things that you have to be witness to that are negative. But how, you don't have to answer this. This is sort of just an open question. But how do you, when you're reading the paper or watching the news, how do you choose the ones that, like everything's bombarding you? So how do you choose the important things that you need to lay witness to?
Doesn't matter.
Does that make sense? Like you can't
Pick one.
sit in the negative,
Pick one.
but you sometimes need to be aware of something that you can change or help or do, like starvation, hunger, charity work. But you have to somehow
Know that they're suffering.
right
To
but not get-
respond and not get overwhelmed by it. That's why we are working to awaken joy. Because the very act of contributing, of responding, of knowing is something for which we can be grateful. And negative is a dangerous word, isn't it? It might mean painful, or it might mean unpleasant, but it is also a part of this, the truth of this life. But they're both there. This is the whole of the teaching, to say in every moment of suffering, there is a moment of freedom that is possible through you. Not just poof, right? Forget it. Not poof, it's not magic. Through you, through your seeing suffering, right there. That's the awakening. Suffering is the awakening bell. Right through you, you can say, I care about that. And I don't know what to do today, but it matters. And the very mattering of it all vibrates something that eventually equals something. But it begins always as a thought, doesn't it? Everything begins as a thought. But that's the perfect seed, isn't it? To turn it into a word, into an action, into a care, in whatever infinite forms it will take, in the infinite forms. And I trust them all. I trust them all. So this is where our habit mind gets a hold of us, because it goes not enough, not sufficient. Not right, not good, not good enough. And it's wrong. It's wrong. Feed the cat walking around your yard. It's fabulous, right? And then be watchful of the mind that falls into, but not. I'm not, it's not, life's not, because that's the habit mind. And it is based, Mike said, on one thing and one thing alone. Fear. One thing and one thing alone. And all fear is blind by its nature. Isn't it? Always. It cannot see the truth, which means you have forgotten already the truth of you and your goodness. And so we're going to, without failure, it says, we began this course without the ability to fail. It's not possible. So watch the mind that goes, I didn't, and then she said, and I didn't do that either. Do these few things. Begin with the 3 words, begin with the 10 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week, and then make sure you write that letter. And then let everything else come from it. Right? We'll let everything come from it in perfect order. Okay. Can we do our chant at our dedication at the bottom? And the chant at the bottom says, may this joyful heart, and we're going to today say grateful. May this grateful heart. Okay, ready? Take a breath, find the body, locate it. In and out, here we go. May this grateful heart, precious and sublime, arise where it is not yet come to be, and where it is arisen, may it never diminish, but grow and flourish ever more and more. May this grateful heart, precious and sublime, arise where it is not yet come to be, and where it is arisen, may it never diminish, but grow and flourish ever more and more. May this grateful heart, precious and sublime, arise where it is not yet come to be, and where it is arisen, may it never diminish, but grow and flourish ever more and more. And as we breathe in, we breathe out all expectations, all sense of failure, getting it right or getting it wrong. We're going to trade all those ideas in for being exactly who you are. Already enough. Already perfect. Remembering. Thank you. Thank you for your practice, your presence, your being. May you remember the goodness in you. Thank you. We will be here on Saturday. I will not be. I'm going to be at the Health and Wellness Conference, East meets West.